the thing that I can't help but to just think about is because I've always believed that context is everything, and in our conversations and interactions over time is that context is everything when you talk about sports and you talk about storylines, you talk about everything that happens when it happens and so forth. And we're all going to go back to 2001 because again, context for me is everything. So here's the context. Obviously, you know well about it, but for the younger audience who didn't live through it like we did, I mean, as a sports fan and whatnot, this is literally right after 9/11 when the Mo Lewis hit happened. It was literally the first game back from 9/11. That's number one.
Yep.
Number two, this was before social media, and Drew Bledsoe had just signed that $100 million contract extension prior to the start of the 2001 season.
Correct.
So there was financial investment by the Patriots, by Kraft and Belichick just before the 2001 season. When the Mo Lewis hit happened, and I wonder about this from a historical perspective now, is you mentioned how massive of a deal this was. What ultimately went into the decision in terms of sticking with Brady? Because Bledsoe, as we all know, he was healthy. He came back. He was ready to go. But Belichick just said, you know what? No, Brady is going to be the guy moving forward. And I thought the national response at that time was, I wouldn't say vicious, but it was strong.
And that's part of why I tend to have a lot of fun on these platforms where it's like, you want to get mad at me, fine, but the truth is staring at you in the face.
Right.
So if the playoffs start tomorrow, don't be mad at me that I didn't warn you that a team like the Toronto Maple Leafs, they could actually beat the Bruins, something that they haven't been able to do in the last decade. Or a team like Florida, who, and I've been warning Bruin fans for weeks now, this is a better Florida team this season than what you saw last year that came up from 3-1 down. So at what point do we really start to look at this team with a lens of reality that there are glaring weaknesses that has to be addressed, or this is going to be an early playoff exit for this team?
All it took to get in Jordan Montgomery was a 1-year deal. That's all it took for Arizona to get him. That's it. Corbin Burns was acquired by the Baltimore Orioles. And when it happened, I said this verbatim. I said, this is bad news for the rest of the American League East. But for the purpose of this podcast, it's bad news for the Boston Red Sox. Because not only that, the Orioles have a true bona fide ace in Corbin Burns, who just won the Cy Young Award with the Milwaukee Brewers just 3 years ago. But also you have someone who we saw on opening day against the Angels was outside of the homer he allowed to Mike Trout. Calling me shocked that he did damage on opening day. He struck out 11 Angel batters. This is someone who's going to be a problem in the American League East for the foreseeable future, but yet the Red Sox were unwilling to go out and make a deal to get a frontline starter that's going to help this rotation. I agree. But I think the Knicks pose a challenge because when healthy, I think this team could potentially match up well, especially defensively, when you look at the likes of Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson, and a healthy Julius Randle, obviously Jalen Brunson playing like an MVP candidate, and then you look at what the Celtics have in terms of like 1 through 6. It's very difficult to find a better 1 through 6 in the entire NBA, East or Western Conference, when you have a healthy Kristaps Porzingis, who has been by and large but healthy this season, and you've seen how big of a difference that he has been for this Celtics